All right, so this is the setup that we did. And it's basically, it's a little different than what you guys are doing, but it's essentially the same. So hopefully you can see this okay. So your transfer case should be clocked. It should look, I'm standing straight. So if you see where this thing's clocked at, okay, you should have a nice big dip in your belly pan here. That was really hard to see the photos you were sending. So anyway, let me introduce myself because this is going to be long enough that I'll have to put it up on YouTube. Jeremy here, Jeeps Unlimited 303-666-9020, partsbreakers.com. This is a Jeep we're doing service work on. We did a huge conversion for the customer, and we're just about to wrap it up and hopefully deliver it here this weekend. So he had this is 78 Jeeps. Originally these came with one of two manual transmissions, the more common T150 3-speed, or the more uncommon T18, which would have been a 4-speed. And I'm not going to go into the specifics on those because it's not really the point of this video. But customer, we did a motor for him on this, and in the process of doing that, he asked if we could upgrade the tranny into something with an extra gear. And since T18s are hard to find and very expensive, and a lot more has to be done to put that in there, we went with the T176, and he had a Dana 20 in it. We went to the Dana 300, and then all this is all pretty much just, it's all pretty standard stuff. So because he had a 78, he had a different belly pan in here. This belly pan is a 80 to 86, and they did that to accommodate for the transmission and for this transfer case. Like I said, the 20 is different for that reason. So when you go to do this, if anybody's looking to do a T176 or a T5, it's going to be very similar to this as well. Conversion, you would buy a belly pan, and we do sell this complete kit, but you'd end up with a belly pan. Again, only if you're in the early CJ7, CJ5, 76 to 79. If you have 81 or 80 to 86, you should already have some of this. You should have this transfer case, okay, the Dana 300, and you should have this belly pan. And then the tranny, well, the tranny honestly you should have as well, or you might have a T5, T4 as well if it's a 4-speed. So, okay, this exhaust was running. It's not original. I mean, it's close, but not quite. So we had to trim our mount there a little bit, which is the bottom. So I was trying to explain this in that in the call. So the tail housing of the transmission here, there's a plate that goes there, and then you have your rubber isolator mount. This is the mount you can buy at like a local parts store. And then the mount, the actual metal mount, is something you'll have to source, or if you get the kit through us, we have that as well. So Jerry, is this seeping a little bit, or is it just something where we checked oil on? Oh, okay, cool. Just want to make sure. So, and then here it is, and I totally said that backwards. This actually is a T5, not a 176. So, or disregard. In the beginning, I forgot we went to a 5-speed. That's one of the main reasons he wanted this. He did have a T150, a 3-speed. So a T176 is going to look not at all like this one, but essentially bolts in very similar. This is a little longer than a 176. They're a little bit stubbier. So, and you can go to either or really. If you're going to do the swap, you can kind of pick your poison on it. And I mean that as far as, a T5 is really known for a little more drivability. Is because you get an overdrive and a little taller gears out of them for highway use. The T176 is considered a little bit more robust. Okay, but bell housing is going to look very similar to that guy. So your bell housing is this portion here. For those of you who've never really been under your Jeep or know what you're looking at, you got a little dust shield here, and then of course the tranny starts here and goes back. Now on a T5, if you can feel right here, it's hard to see, there's an extra round portion of this transmission. That's how you can indicate a T5 from a T4. I can't really show you very well. Oh, there it is right there. So that area, this bulge that sticks out here, you won't find on a T4. That's actually only on the T5. So the trannies will look identical to this. So you'll have your drain plugs and then your shifters. And then that's another way to tell like a T176 from a T5. They're pretty easy to tell if you know what you're looking at, but otherwise you can look at the side of them, and then the shifter of course is way different on the two. So But for your guys', I know this was intended to help somebody out here figure out what they have, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you guys did use a T176 and not a T5. Unless it looks like this, and then we know you have a T5, but again, doesn't really matter. Drive shafts, it sounds like you already have that built, but you do need a belly pan. If your belly pan doesn't look like this guy, okay, then you're likely dealing with the wrong belly pan, which is on the older style. I don't know if I have one of those laying around. I might out front, I'll show you. Okay, and again, that clocking, which I think was the other question, it should be here, and you should have more than enough room when you get that mount in there to still have, I can fit my hand up in here, okay, and there's still significant room up here as well. Now this Jeep has a little, this is going to be a little different than yours probably, because this Jeep has a body lift on it. So we don't usually like body lifts, but it had it. We weren't going to mess with it. This tub is shot anyway. So keep that in mind. You won't have, I can put above my hand, almost my fist, up here between the top of the shifter and the tunnel. And on a, if that body lift was there, I would probably only have, this boot would be almost touching, if not touching, coming up to that floor. So that does change a little bit on the angles. It drops everything down. So right now we had to trim a little bit of the tunnel because this was an older tub. But everything should be good and shifting where it needs to be now. But you may have to trim yours if you're going, if you're putting this T5 or 176 in a pre-80s Jeep, okay? So let's see if I happen to have a belly pan out here. Does not look like it. So I have one in the back. If you need one, just call us and we'll get you it. But I was going to show you what they look like. Otherwise, that's it. Okay. 303-666-9020. Partsbreakers.com. Hopefully this helps you guys out, and then you guys can figure out what you're missing. And if it doesn't help you out, well, just call me and we'll talk about it and see. So just so literally, as you guys know, this is a customer that reached out, and customer brought them parts. They have never purchased anything from us yet. They're just trying to figure out, do they have the right pieces, because the transfer case they have and transmission is seeming not to, something's not lining up. Everything's hitting each other. And oh, the shifter, that was the other thing you asked me. All right, take another little walk over here. I don't know if you could have seen it that much there. I know that was another thing you were asking me. So that Dana 300 shifter, again, this is a little different because you got to remember this is 78, and the tunnels were further forward on these than what yours probably looks like, but it should be very, very close. So that's what your shifter should look like, okay? Which I think it does here, but I want to say you said this was hitting somehow. I don't think there's any, let's see if I can block that sun out there so you can kind of get a good angle. And then your rods, okay, so that's, you see your pins here, it goes through your shifter and then goes up and curves over and then back up. And we had to do a little creativeness on ours, but your pin here sticks down into this, and if yours is coming in contact with your tranny, which you can see this one is not, there's room around it all the way around, then yeah, I would say you got something weird going on somewhere, but I couldn't quite pin where that was. The only thing I can think of is maybe you have it clocked wrong, or maybe this thing's not in here, that mount there. So okay, all right, thanks a lot, guys.